This is Glendon Cameron, and this Mental Monday will be in podcast form. Mental Monday, Inducing Long-Term Commitment. Over the last few weeks, while I've been sick as a dog, I've had a lot of time to read and do research, and I've watched a fantastic amount of television. And a few trends have really jumped out at me because take what's going on with the NBA Finals. You have the Miami Heat, who physically, statistically, are better than the San Antonio Spurs. However, the San Antonio Spurs have a commitment to a system. A commitment to a system that I believe is going to give them their fifth championship, because Miami is physically more imposing, a younger team, in some aspects, in talking about their top guys. Because really the average team age is pretty much the same. But the whole deal is, you look at talent, and you look at physical ability, and you look at all these intangible tools that we as Americans, when we watch sports, movies, any arena that there is a person who's doing exceptionally well, we fall in love with innate talent. And we often poo-poo or ignore or downgrade commitment to a system that works. We as human beings are a little screwed up in that regard, but it happens. So the big deal is, once you learn how to induce commitment, regardless of your age, regardless of your present fiscal situation, regardless of your ethnic background, you can be successful. Going back into the Hustler Mindset Project, going back to the tutorial about narratives, one of the biggest reasons that many people cannot induce commitment is they're operating on a narrative. The narrative is on autoplay. And if the narrative is not self-serving and is damaging, it will limit your success. And one of the ways that it will limit your success is you won't become committed to anything. You will just do what you're doing. Like the people who feel that they're going to retire because they think God loves them and they're going to win the lottery. There are people like that. Or people who feel that some grand, wonderful event's going to just immediately turn their lives around. All of these narratives are dangerous. Give you an example of commitment to a system. I've started writing every day again, and it's been tough sledding. And just to give you background, I write all the time, but writing on projects, writing with a schedule, writing with word goals, it's a different animal. And the first week sucked because I only hit my goal 2 days out of 7. And the deal is, if I hit my goal, I write Monday through Friday, and I can take the weekends off. If I don't hit my goal, I am writing 7 days a week. And really, I think I may just do 7 days a week, with Saturday and Sunday being light days. I mean, 150 words, 200 words, 300 words, that's enough to keep the machine moving. But I've gone back to the system, and I've committed myself back to the system that enabled me to write the first book. And because this is another thing that happens with coming up with commitment. We're looking for the new fangled thing. The new switch, the new whatever, the new gee whiz. Sometimes, frequently, in fact, try, tested old methods that you've employed to be successful maybe 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, will frequently work today. So I've gone back, and the second week, I actually went, because it's 2,000 words a day, and I looked at the total and I did 10,800 words. I had to do it in 7 days because I did not hit my word goals. Now, going back to everything that I taught you thus far in the Hustler Mindset Project, you already know what's coming. This morning, I crunk up my word goal of 3,000 words a day. And it's like, I'll now probably consistently get to 2,000 words a day. And when I get to 3,000 words, I'm going to crank it up again. I'm explaining this to you for a reason. And then I'll crank it up to 4,000 when I get to 3. Because the plan is, if I write 4,000, 5,000 words a day, 4,000 words a day, it's 20,000 a week, it's 80,000 words a month. That is almost a full-length novel, or for the things that I do, that may be 2 books a month, or it may be 1 big book, because that's 80,000 words, and that's going to be probably 300, 400 page book, something like that, just depending on the fonts and everything. And at that level, because I have all these ideas and concepts that I want to put out to you, I will create the machine. Now, that whole process that I gave you is what I'm about to explain into this inducing long-term commitment. Start small. This is one of the biggest problems with people, is they want to be where they want to be right now. And listening to some of the other things I put out, the human condition is only, unless you stretch yourself, is only comfortable with 10%, maybe 15% is enough to make you have a meltdown. Change. So for you, even though you want this thing and you see it as this positive thing, it is still change. So you go ahead and you try to push to this 180-degree turn, and it's too much. And another thing is, even if you pull it off, you still have the problem with fallback or backsliding, because it was so sudden. You did not develop techniques, memory, muscles, whatever you want to call it. These things never got developed, so it's very easy for you to backslide. Whereas if you start small and you build your house of commitment step by step, it's more lasting. Because just what I told you about getting back to writing full time, my goal starts July 1st, but I started this month because I knew it was going to be funky. I knew it was going to be funky, but the real start date for my writing schedule is actually July 1st, but I started way in advance, so that's why I'm not freaking out if I don't hit my word goals, and I'm building a habit. I'm giving myself room to fail and not freak out. Many people put themselves in such a tight tolerance situation that if they fail, it is so huge, because it's either succeed or fail. And every time that you put yourself in that situation and you do not succeed, your self-esteem takes this huge hit. And depending upon your internal, fortitude, how deep a person of faith are you in yourself, it can get to the point where those hits are just too much to bear, and you stop doing the things that you need to do to be successful. And it happens all the time. So start small. Build that house of commitment brick by brick, and give yourself room to be human. We all know ourselves. I know that at times I'm a nut job. I'm a flaky person at times, and at times I have these days where I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay around and do nothing. And on those days, I call it fighting the demon of self. I push so hard. Give you an example. I've been sick. And normally when I'm sick, because, going with the disruptive ninja mojo, I just kind of sit back, and I notice that a lot of times I feel worse. So just in the effort of trying something new, I was sick, and I went to the gym because, my workout program, I started it 6 weeks ago, And it was just like, here I am sick. This is going to put me back 2, 3, 4 weeks, almost maybe at the beginning, because you're sick. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that this time. I'm like, I'm going to find out if working out while sick is going to make me feel worse or better. So I went to the gym, and it was one of those do-nothing days. It was a bad night. I didn't really sleep. Didn't want to do anything. Just first thing I got up, I made my fruit smoothie, drank a protein drink, sat down, looked at my goals, and this whole time I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I mean, seriously, it is just sitting on my shoulders like a 5,000-pound gorilla, just like, I don't want to do anything. And I pushed through it, and then I went to the gym. First set sucked. I mean, it was at the point where I was just going to like drop the weights, just leave it and just say, screw it. And I was like, push. The second set got a little bit better. Third set got a little bit better. Around 30-minute mark, my breathing improved because I had a sinus infection, which turned into this nasty thing that left me with a sore throat, and I couldn't speak. And I had pneumonia once before. So, I already know the whole deal of the fluid on the lungs and everything, and it wasn't anything close to that. But 30 minutes in the gym, I could breathe, I could stop coughing, and my energy level went up. I came back home, and I still, I couldn't talk, but I could research, I could read. I did what I could with what I had, and I felt better. And then the next day I went to the gym, took a day off, and going to the gym, doing this thing, and just pushing through all of this malaise of not wanting to do anything, I got better sooner. So in inducing commitment, it's a fight. It's a fight. And it's a war, really, with many battles and skirmishes. And that day, the first skirmish was getting out of bed. The second skirmish was writing goals, looking at goals, seeing where I needed. The third skirmish was going to the gym. I mean, it was just a whole bite. But going to the gym was this turnaround because the rest of the day went smoothly. Like I said, I was frustrated because I could not speak. I mean, literally, I would move my lips and nothing was coming out. And I think my throat was inflamed. But went through this whole process, and I came back and I put in my exercise journal. It's like, whoa, I was sick, but my workout was actually better than my previous workout, which got me to thinking. There are many times that when the mental is taking over, we are not operating at a full capacity due to laziness, fear, apathy. We're just not. And I was like really shocked. And that whole week, which was a heavy day because I've changed the markers. I don't do light, medium, heavy. I do either really, really light or really, really heavy. And it's been working out for me and my joints very well. Once again, it's about experimentation for what works with you. But it blew me away that as sick as I was in one area of my body and spirit, the rest of me was just fine. And it kind of opened up a whole new door to me because, I did research about working out when you're sick and everything. And, there was like people do it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it because I don't have enough information to say, hey, this is a horrible thing. And I knew it was a sinus infection. It wasn't a cold. It wasn't the flu. Got those similar symptoms. And then this time, the voice disappeared for like 8 freaking days. So going through that and pushing through that, it made me feel better that I did not take a break from my workout program because any trainer will tell you working out is about consistency more than anything else. Anyone can have a great week, but to have a great 6 months or a good 6 months is going to get you much further than starting and stopping. So with inducing this commitment, going back to, and I use myself because I do a lot of stuff, and I consider myself a lab rat because I put myself in situations to grow, which means that many times I fail. And it's not an enjoyable process, but it doesn't wound me like it used to. So you start small in building your house of commitment, step by step, brick by brick, shingle by shingle. There are two tools you need for this: a calendar and a notebook. Because there's times that you're making tremendous progress, but because you're in your own head, you can't see it because you live with you every day. It's just because the progress is gradual, but gradual progress is better than no progress. So you're going through this stuff, and, like with my work goal, if I just sat down and I wrote and did not track it, I wouldn't know if I was getting better or worse. I was like, it's kind of like you go to the storage auction game and you buy a unit and you make some money and you feel like you make some money, but because you're not really, really tracking it, you don't know. So another part of this is to punish yourself and to reward yourself. Going back to the writing. If I hit my word goal, my reward is I don't have to write on the weekends, or going forward, the new thing is I won't have to meet that word goal. I will write 7 days a week because it's beneficial. It helps out tremendously. But I can just write 150 words, 203, and that's it, and I'm good. Because the thing is, it keeps the machine moving. Punish yourself. Hold yourself accountable. If you are trying to induce commitment and you don't know if this week was better than last week and the week before that and the week before that because you're not keeping up with it, it makes it harder. Because part of rewarding and punishing yourself is knowing where you are with your endeavor. And then it gets fun. Because once you punish yourself, it's going to raise your self-esteem. And I know you're like, what? In this world, in the namby-pamby world, like saying harsh words or punishment or doing these type of things. Well, no. True self-esteem comes from accomplishment. Not because someone told you that you were good. Someone telling you were good is, to me, faux esteem, and it's very, very fragile. Now, I will break this down because someone's going to come up with this exception. Like, you have this athlete who's trained for months and months and months and has a crisis of confidence, and their coach goes in their ear and says, "You're the greatest." Different story. They're getting verbal acknowledgement and being reminded of all the hard work they put in. Totally different story. If someone just comes to you and says, "Oh, you're great because you're breathing," and you buy into it, when you then in turn at some point, and we all will face a crisis or a challenge, and you don't have the tools to deal with it, your esteem's going to take a big hit, and you're going to question the people who told you that. When you do reward and punishment and be very accountable, when you reward yourself, it's going to be much sweeter because you really felt that you earned it. And then your self-esteem is just going to grow and grow. And this is one of the reasons that many people, because on YouTube, and I'm really comfortable with this, people either really like me or they really don't. Because I say things that make people confront their inner coward. We're not all the same. Everyone has the right to have an opinion. But the other part of that is all opinions are not the same. They're just not. If you have the opinion of a coal miner who's been in the mines 20 years and he's walking this path and he says, "Look, that thing's about to fall," then you have someone who's brand new who's like, "No, it's good." I'm going with the guy with 20 years experience because his opinion has more weight. In our namby-pamby, socially crazy society, when people say everyone has the right to an opinion, the other part of that that's not said, but it's a hidden meaning, is all opinions carry the same weight. And there is nothing that could be any further than the truth. There are people who are smarter than other people. There are people who are faster. These are facts. This isn't hyperbole. But because of this presumed notion that we're all the same, it creates a very dangerous narrative that actually prevents success. Because people start looking at someone else and like, well, we're the same. I'm just as good as this person. Why is this person getting better results in their life than I am? And then that's when it comes up to either they had an unfair advantage, they cheated, blah, 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 which is not true. It could be that that person worked their ass off while person B, who does not have the level of success that they want, was goofing off. It happens. It totally happens. So reward punishment is not a damning thing. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you are loving yourself on the level that you've never loved yourself before, because you're holding yourself accountable. And when you hold yourself accountable, there's going to get to a period of time where you're going to stop making really stupid mistakes. You're going to stop doing dumb stuff, and your self-esteem is going to go up and up and up. And going back to my YouTube example, many people think I'm an asshole. And, I get it. It's like, oh, you're too confident. You're too cocky. You should be humble. Those are social narratives that I refuse to adopt, because I earn the right to be the way that I am, whatever that may be inferred to someone on the outside looking in. Because if people knew that I went from living in my freaking car, and this isn't something that I just made up as an internet marketer. Actually, this is something I used to be ashamed to even talk about, to living in a boarding house with crackheads, to losing my accreditation where I couldn't work in the lucrative field, to having to completely reinvent myself after some god-awful personal experiences, and went from a period of hanging out with crackheads, because that's what I did. I'm in the common area of the boarding house, and we'll sit, because there was only one television, so I'm literally hanging out with crackheads and drug users and alcoholics. From going to that to I'm hanging out with millionaires. Total reversal of fortunes, but it was not overnight. It was a 3-year process. So that is one of the reasons that I am the way that I am. And understand, the humble, the meek, that is a mechanism put into play by people who are in power to keep you where you are. If you feel that if you work really, really hard, and then you say, hey, I feel good about myself because I worked really, really hard, then you're somehow a bad person, you're not humble. That's to reduce your efforts. That's a whole different video podcast. But to stay back on point with reward and punishment and accountability, this comes from tracking yourself daily. The calendar and the notebook are super, super pivotal. When I go to the gym, I'm one of the few people with like my little journal, and people laugh at me and stuff. But I'm in the gym working out, and I don't remember what I did last time. It's like, because the thing is, if you don't track and reward and measure, and you could literally do the same thing week after week, month after month, year after year with no progression. And if you work out in the gym, I want you to take note of this. Notice how many guys or women never progress. Then and that would be a lot of people in the gym. There will be a lot of people, because I remember last year when I was working out real heavy, people started coming up to me and they were like, are you on something? You're really lean. And the thing is, I was tracking my progress, because and this is, like I said, the notebook and the calendar are super, super important, because say 4 weeks from today, you're doing what you're doing to improve your life, but you have no measure. You might actually be doing less than you were 4 weeks ago. And that's one of the things when I look at my journal, because I look back, because it's heavy and light days, and I look all the way back to see what I did for the last 4 workouts. And there was one workout that I had loaded up the bar and everything, and I went to the book and said, let me check. And I actually had 30 pounds less on the bar because I forgot. So I went ahead and I put 35 pounds on the bar, and I actually did that for the same amount of reps as I did in the previous workout, which means I got stronger because I had more weight. And another thing, it's called fractional weights, and that's another little secret to if you work out. If you're benching 225, it's really easy to bench 225 and half a pound. And then it's really easy to bench 226. Those little fractional weights, going back to starting small, being consistent, is what allowed me to get up to a 400 and some pound bench press back in the day. And this is something I learned from the Bulgarian guys when I was stationed in Hawaii. He's like, we Americans like to make these big, huge leaps. And he broke it down. He's like, if you add a pound to whatever you're doing every month, that's 12 pounds a year. That's 24 pounds in 2 years, and that's 36 pounds in 3 years. And, you know, it doesn't sound very sexy, but when he did the math, it's like you get stronger, you stay stronger, and you build this tremendous base of strength. And that's why even when I don't work out, I still kind of have that look like I worked out because of working out with those guys. Small, consistent, incremental steps are much better than overnight success because you work for it, you earn for it, and it's more lasting. And because it took you a longer time to get there, it takes a longer time for it to fall apart because you're building it on a very stable, sound foundation. And by doing it that way, you can pivot and take new directions in whatever you're doing because, you know, I use the analogy of working on weights and success because they're both the same. You start off at some place, you go in every day, and the goal is to improve. That's what you do. So tracking yourself, that calendar and that notebook are super, super important. And there are many tools that you can do it on your phone or you can do it on your iPad, but become a data junkie of yourself and research junkie. And no, because there's this little app, another little thing, it's really cool. I walk a lot for stress purposes because, you know, if you didn't know, I spent a week in the hospital because I had 4 bleeding ulcers, and this was in 2010 because I was stressing myself out about internet crap. And I walk a lot because when I know that feeling, because the first time it happened, I was stressed, but I didn't know. I know it's stress, and I had this feeling in my stomach. So whenever I feel the edge of that coming up, I go for a walk or whatever. Well, I didn't know that I was walking pretty fast because I got this app, once again, track, measure, journal, and I'm pretty much walking 3 miles an hour. Didn't know that. I mean, I'm walking fast as some people jog, you know, because it's really more than 3 hours an hour, 3 miles per hour. It's like 3.2 to 3.6, and that's just walking, and I didn't know that. So now that I'm able to track it and measure it and put it in my journal, it induces me to want to do more because I'm like, wow, I can build on this and I build on this. And this is the importance of knowing where you are and tracking. I don't care what you do. And I don't care if it's building your business. I don't care if it's your books. I don't care if it's your health, even your relationship. So you got to track that stuff. You have to. And your biggest enemy is the status quo. It's not the economy. It's not what other people are doing. It's the enemy within that is resisting the change to become better. That is your biggest enemy because it's not your family, it's not your girlfriend, it's not your wife, it's not your husband, it's not your kids, it's you. Because once you really become earnest about the change and you become driven to be better, you pull people on your team. Because they're just impressed with you. They're just like, wow, you're really serious. And a serious commitment makes people respect you. They may not like you, but they will respect you. And respect is a very great currency to have. It's an important thing. So that's your Mental Monday. I want you to take this some time. Listen to this 2, 3, 4 times so you get it. And actually, if you're not already doing this, get yourself a calendar, get yourself a journal. It could be on your iPad. I like to still use Dead Trees. And just start tracking your life. Just start, it's like, okay, I did this week. Your business, it's all trackable because what gets measured gets done. And it can be tweaked on and improved. But as long as you're just in this area where you have no information and stuff's just happening, and you kind of know that you're heading in the right direction, listen to me on this. If you track it, if you measure it, if you make sure that you're improving, you can go where you're going 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1,000 times faster than just winging it. All right, this is Glendon Cameron, and I will see you on the good side.